There's more to their story. Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards explained. In the ever-evolving world of entertainment, some stories refuse to fade, not because they are constantly confirmed, but because they continue to feel unfinished. That is exactly the case with Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards. For years, their names have been intertwined in a way that goes far beyond a typical on-screen pairing. What started as a spontaneous, almost accidental moment on live television grew into one of the most powerful phenomena in Philippine showbiz history. But even now, long after the peak of their tandem, fans continue to ask the same question. Was there something real behind it all? The beginning. A connection no one expected. Their story didn't begin with a carefully planned project or a scripted romance. Instead, it was born from unpredictability, an unscripted interaction that captured genuine emotion. Viewers saw something rare, two individuals discovering a connection in real time, without filters, without rehearsals. That authenticity became their strongest foundation. Every smile, every shy glance, every pause, it all felt real. And in an industry where audiences are used to polished performances, what Maine and Alden showed was something raw and relatable. It wasn't just acting, it felt like something unfolding. Halimaw Husay, talent meets emotion. Both Maine and Alden proved time and time again that they were more than just a love team. They earned the phrase Halimaw Husay, a testament to their undeniable talent. Alden brought depth, discipline and quiet intensity to every moment. Maine, on the other hand, had a natural charm that couldn't be taught, effortless, spontaneous and emotionally disarming. Together, they created a balance that was hard to replicate. It wasn't just chemistry, it was timing, energy, and an unspoken understanding that made even the simplest scenes unforgettable. The silence between the moments. As time passed, their appearances together became less frequent. Projects shifted, paths began to diverge. Yet, strangely, the silence only made the story louder. Fans began to notice the small things. Subtle mentions in interviews, lingering glances during rare reunions, the way their names still surfaced together, even in separate projects. It's in these quiet spaces that speculation grows, not because of confirmed statements, but because of what remains unsaid. Sometimes silence carries more weight than words. Real life versus real life. One of the biggest challenges in their story is separating reality from expectation. As public figures, Maine and Alden have their own lives, responsibilities, and personal decisions that exist outside the spotlight. Yet for fans, the line between their on-screen connection and real-life possibility has always been blurred. This is where the story becomes complicated. Was it purely professional? Was there a moment when it almost became something more? Or was it simply a rare kind of partnership that felt real because it was built on genuine respect and understanding? The truth is, only they truly know. Why the story still lives on. What makes their story different is not just what happened, but what could have happened. There's a lingering what-if that continues to fuel conversations. What if timing had been different? What if opportunities had aligned another way? What if feelings were never fully expressed? These questions don't have answers, but they keep the narrative alive. Because people don't just hold on to what they saw, they hold on to what they felt. More than just a love team. At its core, the story of Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards is not just about romance. It's about connection, timing, and the rare magic that happens when two people meet at the right moment, even if only for a while. It's about how something can be meaningful, even if it doesn't last forever. And perhaps that's why their story continues to resonate. Not because it was completed, but because it wasn't. The unwritten chapter today, both Maine and Alden continue to grow in their own paths, individually successful, individually evolving. But no matter how far they go, there will always be a chapter in their story that remains open. Not unfinished in a negative way, but open in a way that allows people to believe, to imagine, and to remember. Because sometimes, the most powerful stories aren't the ones that have clear endings. They're the ones that leave something behind, a feeling, a question, a possibility. And in the case of Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards, that possibility is what keeps their story alive. The unspoken understanding. As the years quietly pass, something about their story continues to feel present. Not loud, not demanding attention, but steady, like a memory that never really fades. Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards may no longer share the same constant spotlight they once did, but there's an unspoken understanding that seems to linger between them. Something built not just on moments seen by millions, but perhaps also on moments kept just for themselves. There's a certain kind of connection that doesn't need to be explained. It doesn't rely on grand declarations or public confirmations. It simply exists in small gestures, in mutual respect, in the way two people continue to carry a shared history with quiet grace. And maybe that's what makes their story even more meaningful now. Growing separately, remembering together. Life moves forward, as it always does. Paths change, priorities shift, people grow. Maine continues to embrace new chapters of her life with strength and authenticity, while Alden keeps pushing himself further, proving his depth as an artist and as a person. They are no longer defined by what they once were together, but that doesn't erase what they had. Because some connections don't need constant presence to remain real. They live in memories, in lessons learned, in the version of ourselves that someone helped shape. And perhaps, in some quiet way, they still carry a part of each other. Not as something unfinished, but as something that was simply right for its time. A love that didn't need to happen to matter. Not all love stories are meant to become reality. Some are meant to be felt deeply, even if only for a moment. Some are meant to teach, to inspire, to remind people of what genuine connection looks like. And that's exactly what Maine and Alden gave, not just to each other, but to millions who watched, believed, and held on. They showed that love doesn't always have to end in forever to be true. Sometimes its truth lies in how it touched lives, how it brought people together, and how it left something beautiful behind. A sweet ending, or just a quiet pause. Maybe their story isn't about closure. Maybe it's about acceptance. Acceptance that what they shared was rare. Acceptance that timing plays a role in every story. An acceptance that not all meaningful connections are meant to follow the path people expect. But here's the sweetest part. Even without clear answers, even without a defined ending, their story continues to bring warmth to those who remember it. It continues to spark hope, not necessarily that they will end up together, but that connections like theirs exist. And somewhere in between who they were and who they are now, there's a quiet, beautiful truth. They happened. And sometimes that alone is enough.